Alright, let's get started and take a look at the TI Cloud tools and figure out how to use that to get started with our MSP432 development. So TI Cloud Tools is located at dev.ti.com. When you open this page, you can see that the TI Cloud Tools will provide you with 3 tools today, starting with Resource Explorer, where you can find and browse through contents and examples and libraries and documentation for your device. The second tool that TI Cloud Tools provide is the Code Composer Studio in the cloud. We will also take a look at this demo later on to figure out how to instantly download programs onto your Launchpad. The third tool that we will look at today is TI Pinmux, and using this tool you can easily configure your device pins and peripherals from a graphical user interface. So let's get started with Resource Explorer. If you click on this Resource Explorer button, you will now see that the entire collection of software and documentation for all of the MSP devices is now easily provided in a tree structure under MSPware on the left hand side. So from here you can expand on the tree structure and find out more information on the device itself. So let's try to find some information on MSP432. As you can see here, all of MSP devices are organized into different device families, and the MSP432 is located on the bottom of the tree list. If we expand on this, we will see that from a device level you can find documentation such as a user guide, a data sheet, errata sheet. You can find also simple C code examples that were created for the device. So we have around 70 different examples that you can easily browse through. You can actually take a quick look at them, or you can instantly download and import into the cloud, and we will take a look at this feature later on. So there you have it, 70 different examples that you can instantly view and download as a quick way to get started and figure out how different peripherals work on MSP432. Moving on from examples and documentation, you can also find tons of other resources that you can use on the MSP432 device. You have a collection of 13 different application notes as well as user guides, which show you how to get started using MSP432 in different IDEs. You also have a porting guide that allows you to easily port your existing application from MSP430 to 432, and there are many others that show how to leverage differentiating interfaces or features on MSP432. We have also provided a really in-depth training on MSP432. So with this, you have roughly 1.5 days worth of content that you can use and go through the exercises and read through the material and become extremely familiar with MSP432. And all of these labs were made to and designed to use with the MSP432 Launchpad. So again, instantly you can go through the entire content of this training just from the web browser. So moving on from the content for the device, as you might notice that beyond the device level, we also have contents specifically designed and organized for your Launchpad. So once we go down to development tools, going down into the MSP432 Launchpad, there you can find information such as the user guide specifically written for this Launchpad, a quick start guide where you can find information on different pinouts and how the different pins have different functions on your Launchpad. This is the same quick start guide that you receive when you buy the Launchpad. In addition to documentation, you can also get access to the design files. So if you need to check on the schematic of certain pins, you also have this instant access online. And beyond that, we have several code examples written specifically for MSP432. We have the out-of-box demo, which we'll take a look at in just a second. We also have various booster pack examples. So these are a number of booster packs that you can already today purchase and pair up with the MSP432 Launchpad, starting with this LCD display. We also have a high resolution color LCD screen with touch capability. We also have a CC3100 Wi-Fi booster pack that you can instantly pair with MSP432, and this example will allow you to send messages and receive messages from Twitter. So back to our demo today. When you get the MSP432 Launchpad, it comes preloaded with a firmware application, and you can actually launch a online GUI here to connect to the MSP432 Launchpad to control it. So I have the MSP432 Launchpad connected to my PC already, and once you open this GUI from this web browser, you go ahead and click on connect. At this point, the TI Cloud agent will actually connect from your browser to your PC, and you'll start looking for the MSP432 Launchpad. And once it finds it, you can actually start establishing the connection between the web browser and your Launchpad. And if you notice on the MSP432 Launchpad, there are 3 RGB LEDs on the bottom of the Launchpad. It is a really cool way for us to showcase our high drive current IOs. So each of this pin can actually drive up to 20 milliamps, and it's a great way to show how bright your LEDs are. So once you move your cursor along this color wheel, you can instantly see that the color changes on the Launchpad as well. You can also select this text box, and once you change the number here, it will also change the frequency at which the LED blinks on the Launchpad itself. So there you have it. Within just a few minutes, we were able to connect our MSP432 Launchpad to the TI Cloud development tools, and you can instantly communicate to the Launchpad and control it to do the out-of-box demo. So moving on, we will take a look at the second demo, which is how to not just communicate to your Launchpad, but also talk to how to be able to program and download codes into your Launchpad. So let's use our out-of-box experience demo here. And as I might have mentioned earlier, you might notice that there is a cloud button here where you can click on it, and it'll instantly import your project into your CCS cloud. You might notice that you have to log into the screen here. It is because we want to save your information so you can save your projects on the cloud. Alright, so now we are inside the Code Composer Studio Cloud interface. As you might see, once we imported our project, it is provided and shown on the workspace view on the left-hand side. As you might see, the reason why we had to log on earlier is because it remembers my personal workspace, and that is why you might see there are other projects already loaded onto this workspace. Once we find our project, you can notice that you can navigate through this project, open it up, and view the different files provided within this project. If you have any experience with a Code Composer Studio desktop or any Eclipse-based development environment before, you might see that this is very similar to it. The way that you navigate through projects, to files, the way that you can open up the different files to view the source code. Actually, the UI is very similar to the desktop version of Code Composer Studio. You can see the syntax highlighting for variables, names, functions, or comments. So we really intended to give you a very similar experience to development that you might have already had on Code Composer Studio on the desktop. So once you view the code and navigate it, make the edits necessary, once you're done with the development, you can actually start compiling the code on the cloud and then download to the device. If you look at the top menu items, you might see that there are 2 icons here. The hammer, which is used to build the project, and once the project is built, you can click on the green icon to run. So let's go ahead and get started building the project. Once we make sure we select the right project, you can click on the hammer and it will start building. You might notice that this is actually a pretty complicated project. There are multiple files being involved in our entire driver library is being built. But one great thing about cloud is that because the cloud server is actually doing all the building for you, the compile time is a lot quicker than it would be on your desktop. So we are really harnessing the power of the cloud right here. As you can see, the compilation has already been done even before I finished my sentence. Now we can go ahead and click on Run, and it will download the code directly onto our Launchpad. Alright, as you can see, the code has now been downloaded to my device successfully. And if you had a Launchpad at home, or once you get the Launchpad, you can also see that your Launchpad is now blinking the red LED, just like it would with the out-of-box experience. So using the Code Composer Studio Cloud is a great way to get started, not just to evaluate the Launchpad by itself or play around with the out-of-box demo. You can actually make your own modification to the code or create a brand new project from scratch. As you can see here, there are a few examples that I have listed, like where you want to mess around with the clock or change the frequency of the clock. You can make your edit necessary here, and without having to download any tools at all, you can instantly try out the features or the functions of the MSP432 with just a few clicks of the buttons. Build and program. What's also great about Code Composer Studio on the cloud is that it does not only accept Code Composer Studio projects, but also Energia projects. Energia has already been supported fully on MSP432, and the way that you can add a new Energia project is by going to project and either create a new Energia sketch or import a number of existing Energia sketch. You can import the projects directly from TI Resource Explorer. And as you might see, in addition to the Code Composer Studio projects, there are a number of Energia projects that you can also directly import and build and download to your MSP432 Launchpad right from the cloud. Now that we have taken a look at Code Composer Studio on the cloud, we have seen two of the powerful TI Cloud tools that you can use today immediately with MSP432. So let's move on to the third one, which is TI Pinmux. At this point, you might wonder, how do I get back to the original landing page of TI Cloud tools? One easy trick, you might see there is a little icon on the corner, and that will take you back directly to TI Cloud tools landing page. So as I mentioned earlier, TI Pinmux is a great tool that allows you to configure your device peripherals and the pins and different multiplexing options all directly from a cloud browser interface using a GUI interface. So let's go ahead and start TI Pinmux. As you can see, TI Pinmux today already supports a number of different devices, not just MSP432, but also other MCUs such as CC3200, C2000 devices. So let's select MSP432 here, and we will select our default pin configuration, and you click on Start. So now you are presented with three different tabs. On the left-hand side, these are the peripherals that are available on the MSP432. So you can see we have an ADC14, we have a few instances, two instances of Compare to E, a clock module, several communication modules, and so on and so forth. In the middle screen, you will see these is where you can actually get to configure the peripheral that you select. And we'll go back to the screen in a second. On the right hand side, you see there are two smaller windows. First, the top one is output. So this is where once you configure your peripherals, the output files will be shown. On the bottom part of the screen, you see the pin layout, and this is where you can see the pin diagram of the chip. And once we select certain pins, those pins will be highlighted on the package. That shows you which pins are being used, if there are conflicts on certain pins, and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and give it a try. So let's say in your application you want to use your ADC to sample a few analog signals from sensors. So we can go ahead and we can click our ADC14 to the configuration. So by default, you might notice that all the pins are selected. So we at this point we can choose to not select a few pins. So let's go ahead and just select maybe 3 ADC channels. 1, 2, 3. Let's say you have a 3-axis accelerometer that provide analog signals, and you want to hook them up to 3 pins. And you can already realize that these 3 pins on the pin layout have already been marked as green. That shows that these pins are being used. If you go up to the output window, you might notice that these files, you can click on these files to show what is the code being generated. What's really cool here is that you can see this code can be regenerated in real time. So let's say we need to add another channel, A4. You can instantly see that once you select more channels in here, there will be more lines of code being added or removed. So that gives you a sense in real time what you do in terms of configuration, what kind of impact it would have on the code itself. And you might notice that there are two ways that we are generating a code. We understand a lot of folks would like to use abstracted software libraries as well as register access level code. So we have the options for both of the users. So we have taken a look at bare metal. Let's move on to driver library. So you can see the highly abstracted high-level language APIs being used in here to program to configure the GPIOs. And similar to before, once we remove certain channels from the list, you might notice that the code instantly changed for you. So that's a pretty cool feature of the code generation piece. Now let's move on from just ADC. Our application needs to sample signals from ADC, but then it also needs to relay that information back, let's say through a SPI interface back to, let's say, a Wi-Fi chip, such as a CC3200. So we want a SPI. From the list, we find the SPI module here. Let's go ahead and add that to our configuration. All right. So if you might notice that on MSP432 we have a module called eWSGI, and it's capable of doing both SPI and UART. So let's make sure we select SPI mode. At this point, you might notice that a SPI module has 4 pins that you need to configure, and the tool tries to be really smart and intelligent and give you a default pin values that would work out the best for you based on the current availability, based on the current pins that are available. However, you can choose to change these pins as necessary. And just like before, let's take a quick look at the output code. Every time you change this, you might see a slight modification in the code being output. Another really cool feature of this PinMux is that it can also detect if there are any conflicts. So let's say if you are already using pin 37 for a certain function, you cannot reuse that for your other function. So I'm going to try to intentionally put that in here. So we know that 37 is being used for clock. Let's try to use it also for slave in master out. And immediately you can see that there is a warning being issued here. There's a conflict. We cannot use this function for both. So this is a really cool way, really graphical way that enable you to quickly assign pins to your device. And with the screen, you can manage all the conflicts, potential conflicts. You can also manage the best way to lay out your chip. That way you can have the shortest routes to your analog pins. You can shuffle your digital communication, your GPIOs around to achieve the best ideal layout possible. What's really great about this is that you can generate the code. You can download that code to your desktop, but you can also save configuration of your application directly to your local drive, or you can actually save it to the cloud. So let's say I'm going to do that right now. Let's give it a name, MSP432 Analog Sensor SPI. This way, the next time you come back in, you can instantly load or open your existing configuration and resume working from there. Alright, so this wraps up the TI PinMux tool on the cloud. It is a great graphical interface that allows you to set up your pins and peripherals much easier using a graphical interface. And you can save, download, and upload and instantly see the generated output code on the fly. One last thing I want to show is how to navigate between the tools. If you go to the top left corner, you can see that you can now go back to the landing page